Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. Welcome to another time here. Welcome to another time at the book club. It's my Sunday afternoon time to just read through a book and share what I'm reading and expatiate on it, learn from it, share from it, and get more out of the book. And the book we're presently reading is The Good Life, released in January this year. It's a compilation of the study on human adult development being done by the Harvard School. It's been done in Harvard, the section for study of human development. So pretty much be looking at adult development. And they've been doing this study for more than 85 years now, and includes people like John F. Kennedy. And it's all about looking at the best way to develop, how to get the maximum benefit of growing up, of becoming an adult, of living life itself. And we already know the conclusion of the study. The conclusion is that it takes a good quantity and quality of relationship to be able to have a successful, happy, healthy, long, um, full of benefit, rich, seasoned life. It's all about relationship. So we're looking at how they came about that and how we can develop the right quantity and quality of relationship so as we can get the maximum benefit of this human experience that we're having. Don't forget we're spiritual beings here to have a human experience. And we're all just talking about how to have the best of that human experience, how to have a quality, rich, healthy, enviable, desirable human experience, you know. So that's what we've been doing. Right now, we're presently reading in chapter 4 of the book. And the title in chapter 4 is Social Fitness. And what social fitness is just the ability to make to make and maintain good relationship, good connections, right? It's not just enough to be able to make it, it's also to be able to maintain it and get the best value out of the relationships in your life, right? Your ability to do that is what is called social fitness. And that's what chapter 4 has been talking about. There's going to be a TED take in chapter 4, and it looks like we're going to have one more take in chapter 4 before we finish chapter 4. Then after that, we'll go on to chapter 5. Or we could go on to chapter 5. Chapter 5 talks about attention to relationships. So here we're talking about social fitness, the ability to create and maintain. Obviously part of maintaining is attending to the relationships in our life. Even next week, we're going to be talking about we're going to begin to start talking that talk on attending to relationship in our life. Will be an introduction, as it were, to chapter 5. We'll be taking next week. But chapter 5 will really be focused into attending to the relationships in our lives. But today we're going to look at the third segment in social fitness, and we're going to talk about loneliness. What is loneliness? What does it mean to be lonely? Right? So there's loneliness and there's solitude. They are not the same thing, right? Sometimes people miss them together. Solitude is beneficial, right? Is healthy, desirable, proactive or intentional step we take to be alone, right? And those of us that are introverted, we crave for that because that's where we get our energy. We don't get our energy in association. We get our energy in solitude. There's nothing wrong with solitude. Solitude is healthy and is good for your mental health. Loneliness is not healthy. Loneliness is a symptom of something being wrong in your life, something being wrong in your social life, something being wrong in your social tummy. You are hungry for association. That's also loneliness is telling you, right? And if you don't do something about it, it can hurt you, right? We'll talk more about it. I'm going to make up my slides here and we're going to dig more into it. All right, so I have my slide here and we're going to be, again, it's a book, the good life. Uh, and today we're going to take the third part in chapter 4. We'll finish it up next week. Then we'll go on to chapter 5. And again, it's part 3 of talking about social fitness, right? So loneliness does hurt, like I earlier said, right? It is negative. Loneliness is a subjective feeling or emotion of unwanted isolation. It just tells you that you are having a social isolation in your life. Loneliness is a symptom, right? It's telling you something is wrong, something is amiss in your life. It's the iceberg telling you something is amiss, and that something is that you are not having the right social association or emotional connection you're supposed to have, right? It's an indicator. It's a natural indicator in our life telling us something is amiss and we need to do something about it. If we don't do something about it, it can hurt us, right? It can hurt us, right? But it's a signal at first. If we don't do something about it, it becomes worse. It becomes a deeper and deeper and deeper. Because if you don't address the issue, it's only going to get worse. And it could get to different levels of being chronic, existential, spiritual, and people have gone to commit suicide because of it. People have become depressed, been mentally sick. They've had memory loss, because they did not attend to the hunger, the symptom of loneliness in their lives, right? So it is a subjective feeling, showing that you have a social association that you don't want in your social isolation that you don't want in your life. It could be a lack of it, it could be a loss of it, right? Maybe you just broke from a relationship, that's so dear to your heart, and you can be lonely while in the midst of everybody. It has nothing to do with where you are, right? Whether you're with people or without people. Loneliness is an internal state. It's a mindset. It's not necessarily a real occurrence in itself. It's not about where you are in terms of people around you. It's your inability to connect with them. It's not the physical being alone. It's the fact that you are not able to connect with them with your soul. Your soul is not able to your soul feels isolated. It's not having the right connectivity to the other souls around you. It's not the physical. You could be in the midst of the crowd. You could be the center of the crowd. You could be a leader in that crowd, and yet you are alone, right? Because your soul is not finding connectivity with the other souls around you, right? So it is a state of the mind, right? Being alone is not the same as feeling lonely, right? But I mean that's a bit confusing. But what it means is that it is a state of the mind, right? You could be in the midst of everybody, but then you could still be lonely, right? So loneliness is an unpleasant emotional response to a perceived isolation. The word is perceived. You might not really be isolated in reality, but your perception is that you are isolated, and that perception will affect you negatively. It becomes your reality, even though it is not the reality. It's the way you perceive it that is important. Loneliness is a perception, not necessarily a reality, but that perception becomes your reality, right? No other person might be able to understand the way you feel because they can't see. It's a perception, but to you it is real, and it is real. You need to address it, right? So it's not any other person's heartache, it's yours, right? If you're lonely, you're lonely. You need to do something about it, right? So loneliness, again, it's a visible tip of the iceberg. It just tells you that it's a symptom telling you that all the things that are missing in your life, in your social life, in your emotional life, right? It's a mismatch between the quantity and quality of social isolation relationship you have and what you want. It's a mismatch between what you have and what you want in terms of quality and quantity of relationship. It's just, don't forget that social fitness, right? It just shows that you're in your mind, you're not socially fit. You're not having the right quality and quantity of social interaction or association that you believe you should have, right? It's a perception in your mind, right? Someone else might have the same as you have and be okay, right? But in your mind, your tank is not full and your perception is reality, right? So loneliness again is defined as a distressing feeling that accompanies the perception that one's social need are not being met, right? It's a distressing feeling. It's a distressing emotion that comes to say when you perceive that your social needs, right, are not being met, whether in quantity or in quality, right? So that's what loneliness is, right? So loneliness will affect us emotionally, affects us physically, and it can also affect us spiritually, right? It can affect every area of our life if you allow it to persist. Don't forget, when it first comes, it's a warning, it's a symptom. If you don't do something about it, it can hurt you. It can hurt you emotionally. It can hurt you psychologically. It creates mental sickness. It can hurt you physically. You can have health issues as a result of it. And you can also have spiritual issues, get depressed and not just have a sense of being, right? So it makes you more susceptible to pain, right? Because your immune system gets affected by the perception of loneliness, right? There's a suppression of the immune system, immune system, right? It can diminish your brain function, mental sickness. It can affect your sleep, depression, and all of that. It can make you it can make you, it just makes you not to have the feeling for life. It can take away your energy, your zest for life. It can diminish your desire to live, your desire to do things. It can take away your interest in life itself, right? You don't have that internal push to do things, to live, right? So that those are things, ways in which loneliness can affect somebody, right? So there are different types of loneliness, right? Different types or different levels of loneliness, you might call it. The easiest and most common is emotional loneliness, right? And it's just talking about you have an absence of meaningful relationship in your life. You don't have people that you can connect with. You don't have people that you can tell the important things to you. You don't have some people that you feel understand you and you understand them, right? That's a common one. And you'll find a lot of popular people have emotional loneliness, right? You imagine the man that died, that committed suicide the other day, yet he was an entertainer. He made other people laugh, yet he was lonely because he didn't feel or did not have people that could connect to him where he was, right? He was making other people happy, but he was needing someone to make him happy, someone who can see him, someone who can understand him, right? Again, there was the other popular Christian singer who talked about depression, even after ministering to others, comes to a place of loneliness because you're not able to connect with other people. Yeah, and this kind of connection could be at different levels. There's the emotional one. There's also an intellectual connectedness, right? Where you feel people are not understanding you. People are not understanding where you are, what you're saying. And part of that is also what we call spiritual loneliness, right? You just don't find people that can connect with who you are, right? And as simple as this could be a big issue in people's life, right? So the other type of loneliness is what we call social loneliness, right? This is also common. It just means that you might have You might not have emotional loneliness. You have one or two people you can relate with and be yourself. It's just a loneliness that occurs in social setting, either because you're shy, you have social anxiety, you just don't feel in the crowd, fitting in the crowd. You know, I might not have emotional loneliness in my life, but when it comes to social loneliness, partly because I grew up as a shy person, partly because I'm an introvert and I crave solitude. You know, I have to shake myself to readjust myself so I don't have a social loneliness. You know, because when I go into a social setting, you know, it's not my comfort zone, right? It's not my comfort zone. So I have to rise up to the requirement of such a setting, right? But if you can't rise up to such a setting, you could feel lost in a crowd, you know, either because you're shy, you're anxious, you're too conscious to what other people are thinking about you, you have low self-esteem, you know, you don't feel you measure up, you know, things like that. You know, that's what leads to social loneliness, right? The next type of loneliness is what we call situational loneliness. You know, this could be loneliness of the cause because you either moved to a new place, you know, you relocated, you changed your job, uh, you changed location, the weather issue. I mean, winter gives loneliness to some places where they don't see the sun for days. You know, all of that, you know, can affect can bring about loneliness in your life, you know, and so it's because of situation changes in or circumstances around you. You know, you're no more around your comfort zone, right? That's what we call situation loneliness. The other type of loneliness is called transient loneliness, right? And this is just one that comes and goes, you know. Every so often you feel lonely, then something happens, you don't feel lonely, you know. It's just a loneliness that comes and goes, you know, based on time, yeah, situation, days, you know, but it's not something that stays, you know. It's just something that's it's not chronic, it's not something that stays there. But for whatever reason, you have emotional high, emotional low, you know. Key thing is that it's not staying, it's not persistent. Right, we say it's transient. But the other side to transient is chronic loneliness, right? When now it has a hold of you. When loneliness first of all starts, you have a hold on it. You can do something about it. It's mere symptom. It's mere the iceberg, and you can do something about it. But if you allow it to persist, it can become master lord over you. Then it becomes difficult to overcome, right? It becomes a part of your person. Same way with depression, right? When depression first visits you, you can control it. But if you allow it to persist and go into what we call clinical depression, it's more difficult to shake yourself off that, right? That takes a whole lot more to shake yourself off. It's the same way chronic loneliness could be, right? It takes a whole lot more effort. It's not impossible to come out of it, you know, just like I've come out of clinical depression, you know. It's not that it's not impossible, it's just more difficult because it's now more associated with your being. It's now become a numb, more like habitual, right? Then you have to do a whole lot more to get out of it, right? Uh, and lastly, or last two, I spoke about spiritual loneliness earlier on, talking about emotional loneliness. You know, spiritual loneliness is just you just feel an overall feeling or sense of detachment from everyone. You just don't seem to connect with them. You can't understand it. You can't really put it this or that. It's just a sense of not feeling it with people, right? And it's a feeling that your life is incomplete and lacks a meaning. It's a vague sense of longing that you can't say what or who you long for. You know, just that feeling of aloofness, right? You can do something about it. Sometimes the whole lot is because you don't know yourself. You know, so one of the ways you help yourself get out of spiritual loneliness is beginning to discover yourself, discover who you are. that will tell you that you're no strange person. It's been an awesome adventure for me discovering who I am, right? Probably one of the biggest things that has revolutionized my life. I used to think I was a strange person and there was only one of me. But the more I do study on personality, I get to find out that I've been well studied. All right. I've been well studied. There's nothing new there's nothing new under the sun concerning me. I've been well studied, right? And I can read about studies concerning me, and I can then learn how to do me better, right? And everyone can do that also, right? We've all been well studied, and we can do better as we get to know ourselves better, right? So I see Toba logging in. Hey, Toba, how are you doing?
I'm good. Happy Sunday, sir.
Happy Sunday. Bless your heart. Good,
Yes,
good
sir.
to have you and see that your network is good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. How have you been?
It's been great, just busy all this while. I've not been able to come along.
God, busy is good. Busy is good. It is well. It is well. So we're presently in chapter 4 of the book. We're looking at the good life, and we're talking about social fitness. And social fitness, just talking about ability to be able to make and maintain relationships. That's all. And today we're talking about loneliness, what it means to be lonely. So we're talking about different types of loneliness. you know. So I just finished talking about spiritual loneliness. The next one is existential loneliness, where people feel a sense of, separation from everyone else and the world as a whole. That's what makes people go commit suicide. They just feel that they have no connection to everything else. You know, is that something you've heard about? Have you seen someone that's lonely before?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So any example you want to share of someone being lonely?
So like someone I know, I think in his case, it's well, like people used to say that sometimes you might have someone or people around you and you can still be lonely.
Absolutely.
That was the example of that person then. We were together, but I could see that it was like suffering depression, I think, because he was not talking. If you ask him questions, he hardly give you an answer, or he has a programmed answer, like somebody just giving. Maybe you say, "How are you?" It's just fine. How is today?
Yeah.
Fine. How is everything? Fine. So it's like the same answer for almost every question.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah.
opening up. And
Yeah.
then unfortunately, someone that seems he was opening up to passed on. So with that, it makes it difficult for him to open up to any other person after the
Yeah.
demise of that close pal.
Yeah.
So I saw that even though there were other people around, there were people who seemed to be interested, he will not open up to them.
Yeah. 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 Loneliness is not real. Loneliness is a perception. It's the way he sees the world. It's a prism through which you see the world. It's a
Hmm.
feeling that people don't understand you. It's a feeling that, there's a separation between you and the people around you. You can't tell them the things that are important to you. They won't understand. It's a judgment that the person has made. So it has nothing to do with, you can have a crowd around you and still be lonely if you think that they don't appreciate the things that are important to you, right? Or so that case you're talking about is what we'll call a chronic loneliness, because loneliness at this simple level is a symptom that the person is not having the right social engagement, right? So the person can do something about it because it's just a symptom. It's just like hunger. When you feel hunger pain, it means that you are hungry. You go and eat, right? But if you don't eat, then you can go on to starvation, right? The same way loneliness tells you that you're not rightly engaging socially, right? So if you do something about that feeling or that initial perception, you'll come out of it. But if you don't do anything about it, it begins to take resident on the inside of you, and it can get to a place where it becomes a part of you. That's what they call chronic loneliness. And it's more difficult to come out of it once it's chronic, because even when you want to come out of it, you almost inadvertently do things that will make you not come out of it, because your whole system is wrapped around wanting to keep that status quo. You don't want to keep it, but your system is wrapped around keeping that status quo. You begin to do the things that are not, you don't want to do, just because your system is trying to stay within that status quo. So you have to, it takes more, you have to double your effort to come out of it. If you don't intentionally stand up to come out of it, you cannot come out of it, because at that point in time, you're a prisoner of it. You have been held captive. You're a lawful captive of loneliness at that point in time. You understand?
Yeah.
All right. Some of the signs of loneliness, you want to say something?
No, I have a question,
Okay.
but when you
Oh,
finish,
go ahead. Ask your question.
I don't know, maybe you might have treated it before in some sessions that I might have missed, or maybe you still have intention of doing that. But my question is, how do we help people like that? How do we, and if possible, in fact, this has been in my mind for long. I've been wishing I have a time to equally ask you if you can equally share your practical experience of how people in that state can be helped, can be, because I know it also deals with, apart from that person being lonely, I could sense some forms of depression. And like immediately I came in now, I remember a few minutes later you were talking about some having suicidal thoughts and the like. And at the time when someone who happened to be a psychologist interviewed that person that was talking about, one of the questions that you asked was, do you at any time having thoughts of going to commit suicide? And surprisingly, this person said yes.
Yeah,
And he's
it
a
is.
Christian. I
Yeah,
was really surprised. Like, wow, so this is as serious as it.
it is.
So at some point, he has called on me to help him. And maybe because I wasn't so skilled in that area, it was not something I've really handled so much. I got confused. There was not so much I could do. I had to talk to some psychologists who are friends in the church, who are professionals to their own advice. So, but I want to ask, how do we help people like that? Because at instances, at least I've met close to two or three. In fact, there was a time I have two core members who are in my church, and I discovered that they were psychologically disturbed. In fact, when we come to church, he will not talk to anybody, and he will not allow you to get. At the time he started living alone, we don't even know where he's living, and he will always be in church.
Yeah. All right. I have some things on date in front. If at the end of the day I
Okay.
don't fully answer it, ask me again. Will address it directly.
Okay.
All right. So the signs of such include, when you find someone that's lonely, you find them
Okay.
that they overdo things, right? They overshare. When they find someone that will listen to them and it's a topic they are interested in, they overshare. They
Okay.
overcompensate.
Okay.
Seemingly wanting to come out of it. So you find them overdoing things. Uh, they talk a whole lot about friends. Oh, I want to have friends. They do a lot of talking about wanting to have friends, wanting to have connection. But overdoing it doesn't help them. It's just that at that point in time, it's just a reaction. and reaction does not help. It has to be a proactive, intentional step to come out, right? It's not you just reacting to the feeling, right? Because the person's in chain at that point in time is a prisoner, right? So the only way you're going to do to come out of prison is to be proactive and intentional and focused to address the real issues, not just the symptoms, right? So
Yeah.
one thing is also, such people are the people that get, people that get abused, people that are lonely will be throwing themselves about, so you find people that is in a relationship where they are abused and they cannot leave. It's because they are lonely, right? They are looking for connection. They have not rightly valued or priced themselves, so they sell themselves cheap, right? They can even prostitute for the seeming person that is connecting to them, right? Because they feel that they don't have no other person will price them, right? I once canceled a Malaysian lady, who called me who were chatting together, canceling her. She had a Cameroonian boyfriend who was living in her house. That Cameroonian boyfriend was physically abusing her, right? She was the one, that Cameroonian boyfriend wasn't working. She was the one sponsoring his leading style, Yet she did not want to leave him because she said that if she leaves him, she thinks no other person would love her. She won't find someone else, right? That is a sign of someone that's lonely, someone that's has no value, of him or herself, So they seemingly throw themselves in trying to fight the loneliness, right? Because almost they've never connected to someone. This one person looks their direction. They will almost like do anything to keep that person, right? So when you find someone that is always putting other people's need before their own, there's possibly a loneliness in that person's life, when I used to think that if you kill yourself for somebody, that is love, but that's not true, right? Killing yourself for somebody is not necessarily love. Love will do that, but just killing yourself doesn't mean that you love somebody, so if you look at 1 Corinthians 13, it says that even if you kill yourself but without love, that is nothing. Meaning that it's possible to kill yourself for someone without loving the person. It could just be because you are looking for something. You are trying to get out of jail, not necessarily because you love that person, right? So just because someone kills or gives their life doesn't mean they did it out of love. It might just be out of trying to come out of the loneliness in their life, right? So, but you find people like that, it's because they are lonely, they are depressed, right? Also, if you find someone that is feeling the need to overly help or be nice, that person is lonely. Right? If someone feels what we call niceaholic or compulsive niceness, right? The niceness that does not make sense, is because the person is lonely, is looking for association. It's not because of love. Love is not a compulsive niceness. Love might be compulsive goodness, not niceness. Niceness and goodness are not the same thing, right? If you're compulsively nice, it's because you are lonely, right? Meaning there are times that you're being good might mean that you are not nice to some people, right? God is not a nice God. God is a good look God. Meaning God can kill someone. If you're a nice person, you can't kill anybody. Niceness does not kill. Goodness will kill. Because if goodness sees that killing you is better for you, it will be good for you, it will kill you. But niceness will never see killing as being good for you, because always trying to win your approval. Niceness wants to win your approval. Goodness is doing what is good for you, not necessarily whether you like the person or not is immaterial, right? So those are like symptoms of someone that might be lonely. Did you want to say something before I continue?
No. You can go ahead.
All right. All right. So typically, another sign of loneliness is the person just feels empty, is alone, and feels unwanted, feels undesirable, right? Feels isolated. He feels invisible, that nobody's seeing me, right? He feels like he doesn't belong to anybody, to anywhere, or to anything, right? He could also be someone that is obsessed with friendship, just friends. You don't want to be friends, you know. Anyone that is craving for human contact. Oh no, but their state of mind, when, like I say again, in all of this trying to pursue these things, they do things, they want to friendship, but what they do seemingly takes them away from friends. If you have someone that is compulsively nice, you cannot be friends with that person, because they'll be so nice that they will irritate you, right? But the person that wanting to be nice is doing it because he wants to be your friend. But you then get irritated by that seeming compulsiveness, right? So they're doing things to be close to people, but they're overdoing it in such a way that it gets the wrong result, of what they are trying to achieve. Now we'll go to talk about some of the ways in which we prevent it, cope with it, and help people with it, like you asked. So one of the ways, and probably one of the first starting way to come out of it is to accept where you are, right? You have to accept the fact that you're lonely. If you don't accept that you're lonely, you're depressed, you can never come out of it. You have to understand that something is driving you to be extra nice, and that thing is not. You have to associate with that. You have to know that I'm in a place where I should not be, but this is where I am. This is where I want to come from, right? So you have to acknowledge where you are, how you feel. You have to understand that what it's telling you about is a symptom of several things that are missing in your life, right? So then you have to begin to love yourself and appreciate yourself, begin to value yourself, right? It's because some of this is because you don't value yourself. You have to begin to date yourself, fall in love with yourself. One of the reasons why I cannot get lonely is because I love myself. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you have to stay with yourself, you're not lonely because you're with yourself. If you love the person that you are with, you cannot be lonely. If you love yourself that you are with, you cannot be lonely. So a lot of people are lonely because they don't love themselves. They don't know themselves. See, they don't know themselves enough to love themselves. So they are lonely because they are not with themselves, or they are with someone they don't like. They don't like themselves because they don't know themselves. They don't value themselves. They want to be someone else that they are not. So they are running away from themselves. That alone will create loneliness in your life. So one of the things to do is to begin to know who you are. Who am I? I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm a dad. Am I quiet? I'm loud. What are things I like, what are things I don't like. You have to fall in love with yourself. You have to become comfortable with who you are. You might not be the best right now, then begin to say, oh, this is where I am, this is where I would love to be. Begin to take care of yourself, groom yourself well. What would you like, But you have to start from where you are. You get what I'm trying to say? So if I'm counseling someone that is depressed and is feeling lonely, it's to start from, do you like yourself? Do you love yourself? What is it that you don't like about yourself? Do you live up to the promises you make to yourself? Why? You know, each promise you make to yourself that you don't live up to dings on your self-image, dings on your self-repute. You love yourself less each time you don't meet up to a promise that you've made to yourself. You understand that?
Yes, yes.
So that's a starting place, is to work on the person, you know, and begin to love yourself. The other part is to practice gratitude, you know, be grateful for what you have and who you are. There are a lot of people that wish they were you. If for one thing you are alive, you know, that's something to be grateful for, right? It's, you know, so gratitude helps also, because sometimes people are lonely is because they don't like what they have. They don't like who they are. They don't like where they were born. They don't like who they were born to. They don't like their parents. They don't like several things, you know, that if you begin to see those things in a different light, you know, and begin to be grateful. They might not be the best. It might not be your where you're going to end, but that's where you are right now. It's your seed, you know. So if you can begin to help those people to practice gratitude, you know, that will help them. You know, that would help them. You know, David says, "This is the day the Lord has made." Not another person made this day. It is the day the Lord has made, right? Therefore, I will be glad and rejoice in it. I'll be glad and rejoice in it because it is the day the Lord has made, right? Not just because it's another day. It is the day the Lord has made. Therefore, he has rightly taken care of it. I might not fully understand and see all the things he has taken care of, but because it is a day that he has made, the devil has not made this day. I have not made this day. This day has not come by coincidence, but it is the day the Lord has made. Therefore, I will rejoice and be glad in it. I am the person the Lord has made. Therefore, I will rejoice and be glad in myself because God has made me, right? I am his workmanship, who he has created to do great works, good works, which he had prepared before. He had prepared those good works, then he created me to do those good works. So he has created me with the right shape, the right tools, the right equipment, person, knowledge, skills to do the work that he has set for me. Therefore, I qualify for the work that he has given me to do because he knew about those work before he created me, right? He gave me all that I need to do that work. Right? Therefore, I will rejoice and be glad in myself that the Lord has made, because I qualify. I qualify. I qualify to be alive today. I qualify to do everything I need to do today because I am not a mistake. I am the person the Lord has made. Right? Are we together?
Yes, yes,
Hey,
yes.
how are you? Engineer Dre, how are you? Good seeing you. Yeah. So you see, if you can help the person to appreciate, you know, all that the person has and understand that nothing has come by coincidence, that would help. That will help the person come out of depression. That will help the person come out of loneliness, right? I quickly give a good example of myself. I mean, the 2 times I went into depression, the first one because I lost a lot of money and I felt I could never recover again, you know? So that's what took me into depression. How did I come out of depression? You know, it was that scripture which says that this is how does it put it now? It talks about scripture is running away from my head, so I'm going to paraphrase. It just talks about our confidence, you know, it's our strength, you know, it's Hebrews 10:38 or so, 35:38 talks about it talks about our confidence, you know. So when I began to believe that scripture, I began to know that my confidence is well priced. So I began to build back my confidence. That's what brought me out of depression. 2010, right? This last time I went to depression here, what took me there was I began to doubt God's word. God says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And with all the things that happened to me, I said, God, how can you be that you have not left me or forsake me? Well, I went into depression. How did I come out of depression? I began to believe God's word. I began to believe the same word I doubted, that he has said he will not leave me nor forsake me. See, I began to prize myself, that God has not left me, has not forsaken me. Am I making any sense?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah. So you have to help the person to believe God. You have to help the person believe him or herself. You have to help the person understand him or herself and know that him or herself is enough, is valid. That person is valid. That person is not a wash away. That person was intentionally created to do good works. That person was created, fitted for purpose. Right? So help that person see value in him or herself. That would help. Right? Another way is to make time for connections, right? Make time for connection. But it has to be connection in appropriate measure. See, what chronic loneliness would do to you would want you to overcompensate, right? What you have taken you years not to make, you just want to make 100 friends in one day. Life doesn't work that way. Life works in measured quantities, right? If you meet a new friend today and you are going to visit the person every day, the person will get tired. Depending on what that person is, right? But that person that is chronically lonely is hungry. This other person is okay, normal level. The hunger of the chronic person can overwhelm the normal person. So you have to then hold yourself back, right? And don't allow the depression or the loneliness control you. You have to control it. You have to be intentional about your connections. You have to be intentional about your friendship. You have to be intentional about your social interaction. It needs to be measured, right? Otherwise, it will not give you the result you're looking for, right? So, but then you have to look for people that are like-minded like you, people that believe the same thing that you do. So like that person comes to church, that's one thing. It's better than staying at home. The other thing is, what profession is that person in? You can put that person with people that are in the same profession where they can begin to talk about things that he does Monday to Friday, right? In measured quantity. That will begin to bring the person out of the shell. Maybe some things that person likes, maybe he reads a book. Maybe there's a book club that they can discuss a book they are reading together. You have to begin to look at things a person like and find people of like mind, to begin to engage. Our social being, is just like our physical being. To be physically fit, need to begin to do exercise in measured quantities, right? The same way if you just rush into doing exercise, it can hurt you, right? You have to begin to break into the exercise you're doing to get physical fitness. Same thing with social fitness. You have to break into it to be able to get yourself fit socially. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another thing that helps, to calm you out of loneliness, depression is movement, right? If you just stay in one place and not move, you can't break out of depression. Depression needs you to move, to do something, so it's good to go do exercise, go for a walk, just move. Just moving, it helps your mind, right? When you have movement, physical movement, exercise, it helps your mind to refresh, right? So that helps also. Also, it helps to volunteer. What you do with volunteering is you get to engage with other people, right? You see people that are probably going through worse things than you are, people that you can be a blessing to. That also helps. Any question on everything I've said so far?
No, I'm very okay with it.
All right, great. So I'm going to close. I try to close with a few quotes, so next to slide, just a few quotes, which kind of summarizes most of the things we've said already. you know. One is by this husband and wife here, John and Stephanie are husband and wife, psychoanalysts who have studied loneliness, and the husband, John, says that, chronic loneliness will increase the odds of early death by 20%. When someone is chronically lonely, he has a tendency to die earlier than usual, right? Which, so it can affect our health, if you're just lonely on your own. The wife goes on and says that so loneliness, it's just a psychological natural response. Like I said, we just also some things are miss in our life. It's part of our humanity. When we're not having the right quality and quantity of social engagement, we feel lonely. It's just telling us that we need to do more. We could do more. We're not rightly engaging, right? That's what loneliness tells us. It probably tells us, and for Christians, the Bible says, don't forsake the assembly of one another. Bible also talks about that God puts the lonely in family, right? So God wants us to have a certain level, quality and quantity of social engagement. When we don't do that, what the response we feel on the inside of us is called loneliness, and you just somebody tell us that we could do better, right? That's all it's telling us. So if we don't do anything about it, then it can grow into something that could have power over us. There is a level of and quality and quantity of relationship we're supposed to have in our life so that we can lead healthy, happy, longer, health, a rewarding life. We're created social beings, so there is a certain quality and quantity we need to be filled and to develop rightly. And when we don't have that, we feel lonely. So loneliness is not a bad thing as in all, if we understand, the what it means, the symptom, is telling us about, So Dr. Becky Spillman, who is also another psychoanalyst, says we all deserve friends and social life. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help and making the first step, right? There's nothing wrong with if you're lonely that you seek friendship, you seek for help, you seek for counsel. We all deserve to have friends, to have social engagement, and it's, he that will have friends must show himself friendly. I guess the way we ask is by doing our own part to show ourselves friendly. We need to sow the seed for the harvest that we're looking for. Yeah, and we need to do it in measured quantity, because when you overwhelm people, you don't necessarily get the result you're looking for. You need to understand that there's a certain level of social engagement that everybody can stand, and everybody's in their own different place in the spectrum. So you need to relate or engage with other people the way they would love to be engaged. That's important also. So Robert Waldinger says the frequency and quality of our contact with other people or social interactions are two major predictors of our happiness, right? Our happiness weighs a lot on the frequency and the quality of our social interactions, Yeah, that's all I have for today. Did I answer a bit of how you could help those people?
Yes.
Awesome.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I will. I don't know if I
Great.
can get the slides.
Yes, you can. Let's see, would it go by email? Well, let's try.
Yes.
I'll send it to you by email.
Email will be better.
I'll,
Yes.
all right.
So that
I'll send it by
I
email.
can take time to also go through them again and again.
No
the
problem.
things
Yeah.
powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks. All right. I'm going to shut off at this point. So have a great week. See you here again next week, God willing.
Amen. And you too.
All right. God bless. All right. Bye-bye.